day 3. I'm just going to check on my other computer. I look quite professional here. I've got 2 computers on the go. Purely and simply so that I can make sure that I'm actually going live in the right place and it's showing up that I am live in the right place. So that's good. I have a habit of not being where I should be on Facebook because I've got my page and then I've got the private group that's connected to the page, and then I've got other things, so I tend to pop up. So I just need to make sure that I'm in the right place because a lot of my pages are connected. Um, I think I mentioned it maybe on Monday that I do a page that's connected with parenting for parents and carers. That's called Parent. I think it's Parent Plus 2015 because I set it up 5 years ago with 2 colleagues of mine who have moved on to other things. So it's just me now that runs Parent Plus. So I just need to make sure that I'm actually in the right place, which I am. So welcome to day 3 of this free Exploring Anxiety Week, and I hope that you're getting something from this and maybe getting to know me a little bit better. I had some lovely comments after yesterday's live, which I really do appreciate. I've had also people messaging me today, which has been absolutely lovely, with lots of positive responses and comments. And it's good to know that some of the things that I'm sharing in here, people are saying, I get that too, and I've had that. I've had comments about the mask wearing that I spoke about last night, which is good. So I'm going to go on to talk a little bit. I know I said I was going to talk about it last night, but I think I got waylaid. I have a habit of doing that. I have a pad and a piece of paper that I make notes on. And when I'm talking, when I go off on a tangent, I need to come back to my notes so that I know what I'm actually talking about. So there's a couple of things. First of all, a big thank you to everybody that's been watching for Monday and Tuesday. And if you're here, say hello so that I know that I'm not just talking to fresh air or crickets. It's nice to know that there are some people watching. But this is also available on replay. So this will be on my page. It'll obviously go further and further down the feed as time goes by. But I'm also downloading these and putting them on a playlist on YouTube. So I will put the link up for that at the end of the week. So you can access these videos at any time on my YouTube channel, which is Jackie Jones Coaching. And it'll be on a watch list called Exploring Anxiety January 2021. I have done this before, and that's also on a watch list on there if you want to watch that, because I don't always talk about the same stuff. And just to touch, we've got tonight and tomorrow that I will be doing live on the page, and then Friday I will be doing a Zoom call which won't be recorded. I don't think it's fair to record something and have it up on YouTube or on my Facebook page if people are going to maybe ask questions or have the cameras on so that people can see them. So you need to be in it to win it, as they say, on Friday with the Zoom. I'll probably do the link and put the link up tomorrow at some point so that you've got it. And if you can just comment underneath it and say, yeah, I'm in, that would be brilliant, just so I've got some idea of how many people will be on there. It can host quite a few, but it's just so I know what to expect. Because just like you, I'm human, and I don't want to be worrying about how many people are coming or get a bit overwhelmed or underwhelmed or whichever it might be on Friday. So if you can just let me know if you want to attend that's brilliant. And let me know in the comments underneath this if there's anything that's maybe stopping you from attending a Zoom call if you've not done one before. It's quite easy. You just need to click on the link and it tells you to do everything. It automatically does it, and then you'll be tucked into like a waiting room, metaphorically and online, and I just click admit and you're in there. You come in with your camera off and your microphone off, so it's not like you'll be caught with your finger up your nose or anything untoward like that. And then it's up to you whether you put your camera on or your microphone on, or you can just quietly sit in the room and listen to other people talking. But it would be nice to do it. I'm quite happy to do them more regular if there's an uptake and if people want me to do it. That's the reason why I do these, is just to spread the word and to let people know, because there's so much that I'm hearing about and so much in the press where people are finding this third lockdown particularly difficult, whether it's because it's January and it's going darker early, or it's cold weather, or what, I'm not sure. And I don't need to work out why it is. It's just that I'm trying to reach as many people as I can by doing these lives and holding those Zooms. I see people on a one-to-one basis, but obviously I can only see one person in 1 hour if I'm doing it face-to-face via Zoom. Whereas on a Zoom call, I could see 20 people in that 1 hour, and there aren't any silly questions around mental health or emotions or anything really. I would imagine that if you've got a question to ask, there will be other people that have similar questions. We don't all have similar life experiences, but we do tend to come up with similar questions around certain things. Whether you're a parent, whether it's relationships, whether it's homeschooling, whether it's just being cooped up and going a bit stir crazy, feel free to pop anything in the comments, and I will do my utmost to answer any questions that you've got, or maybe talk a little bit around, what's normal. That's one of the things I get asked quite a lot by people. Is it normal? What I do, is it normal? Do other people do it, or is it just me? And judging by last night and the night before, when I was sharing some of my stuff and other people were saying, oh, I do that too, then yeah, it's probably normal. So on to Wednesday. What I'm going to throw a bit of theory at you tonight. I thought that might be helpful for some people. Just a little snippet of it. Because it can be quite in-depth, and I do get a bit passionate about things, and I can throw a lot of information out there, so I'm going to try and calm it down and not do that too much. But one thing I do want to talk about is our life script, or our life story, if that is a better way of phrasing it. But in transactional analysis, one of the early things that we talk about is that from the day that we're born up until 4, which is a shockingly short space of time, we're laying down our life script, which is just like a script of a film or a script of Coronation Street. I always pick on Coronation Street. We write our own life script, and how that life script is going to pan out. Then between the ages of 4 and 7, we kind of finalise it and think, yep, that's going to work for me. I'll do that. And then our life script is pretty much written by the age of 7, which is shocking when you think that me and you and pretty much everybody else is living their life by the decisions that they made before they were 7 years old. And that's quite shocking. And we write our life script dependent on a lot of things. Simple things like the position that we're born in a family, whether we're the firstborn, or that typical middle child syndrome that we all hear about, or whether we're the youngest child, whether something happens within the family that changes the dynamics, if there's a divorce, or any sort of trauma that happens, we will make certain decisions around that on how it's impacted on us. The other thing that determines our life script, we always have a choice in it. That's the main thing. We make the decisions, even as a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old. So our parents don't, hi Gemma, our parents don't do this to us. Even if a trauma happens in our childhood, we make certain decisions about that. But our life script can be written around the recognition that we get as we're growing up. So if we get recognised for being independent, say I'm the firstborn child, and I have a younger sibling that comes along, but I take responsibility and I take care of them and I look after them and kind of play second mummy to that child, then I would probably get recognition for showing independence, being responsible, helping out and all those sorts of things. So that would then become part of my life script, because I'm going to do more of the things that I get recognition for as I'm growing up. So it kind of becomes part of my personality to a certain extent. So that's sort of a background as to how our life script works. So if I make certain decisions about being responsible, and I make certain decisions about I want to say taking control of situations, but obviously this is decided when I'm very young, then those are the type of things that I'm going to do when I'm older. And if something happens where I can't take control of a situation, or I can't be responsible, that's what I would say is stepping out of script. And that can cause us to feel anxious sometimes. So when we get that sort of collywobble feeling in our stomach, sometimes that can mean that we've just stepped out of our script. We're going against the story that we made up when we were really young, that we should do certain things. So I'll talk a little bit about something else. This is the thing with psychotherapy, everything's interlocked and everything connects to each other. So to just talk about one thing without introducing something else kind of doesn't make any sense. So connected to our life script, we've got what we refer to as driver behaviours. So these are behaviours that drive us to be a certain way, that links in with our life script and the decisions that we've made. And there's 5 of those. So there's be strong, be perfect, please others, try hard and hurry up. Those are the 5 categories of, you can call it personality type, I suppose. But dependent on the recognition that we got when we were younger, and dependent on the decisions that we made in our life script, they all kind of interweave with each other. So if I got lots of recognition when I was growing up for pleasing other people and making other people happy and not causing a problem and being quite a well-behaved child, that would become part of my life script, and I would then probably end up with a please others driver behaviour. Are you following me? So if I then have a please others driver behaviour, when I'm stressed, when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm overworked, when something like this is going on and a pandemic in the world is around, I'm going to be in my driver behaviour a lot more often. So if I've got a please others driver, then I'm going to try and please everybody a bit more because it makes me feel better. So it's not always, well, it's never about the other person, to be perfectly honest. It's more about me and what makes me feel better. But if something happens and I can't please the other person, then I'm going to feel that because I won't have done what I'm supposed to do. I won't be living by my life script and doing what I've been told that I need to do. So somebody who's got a please others driver, if I was in a session with them and I was talking about them, I would be trying to encourage them to take more care of themselves. I would be trying to encourage them to maybe, do more self-care and focus on themselves, which is, we should all do that. But if they started to do that, they might start to feel anxious because they're not taking care of the other person. They're concentrating on themselves, and that doesn't feel right to them. So anxiety can be caused by lots of different things. It's not always quite straightforward that something happens and that, my thoughts start kicking off and then I start to feel anxious about it. It can be quite deep rooted. And sometimes it can be that we're going against a decision that we made when we were very young, and so young that we don't even remember having made that decision. So it's in our subconscious. We just get, I'm not sure whether you've ever done it, where you just get that feeling of unease. Sometimes that can be because we're making a new decision or going against something that we've had as part of us for such a long time that we've even forgotten that it's there in the first place. So I get that's a lot of theory that I've kind of thrown at you. But in amongst all of that, the driver behaviours and our personality types and everything else. And I will talk a little bit more about this tomorrow, just so that you kind of get a sense of it, let it sink in. Watch the video again if you want to, and then I will talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. But the other thing that links into this is what we call life positions, and it's again, it moves around. I know I talk about our state of mind going up and down, but our life position, we kind of have a default. The ideal life position is what we call I'm okay, you're okay. And the person that did transactional analysis wrote a book with that title, I'm okay, you're okay. So it's kind of like we're both in that here and now place. I'm no better than you and you're no better than me. We're both even. And that's where we want to be. That's when we're in our adult. We're not playing psychological mind games or trying to get one over on each other or doing any of that. We're kind of both in a good place. So that's the ideal. The other, well, there's four. So one of the other life positions is I'm okay, you're not okay, which sometimes, that's understandable. If I was a boss in a big company and I had lots of employees working for me, in the boardroom, I might go into that boardroom feeling I'm okay, you're not okay, because I'm a higher rank than what you are. That's how it kind of works. Then there's another one that you're okay, I'm not okay, which would probably be the employees in that room feeling like their boss is higher status than what they are. And then the final one is I'm not okay, you're not okay, which is not a good place to be. We don't want to be in that final box, which is none of us are okay, nobody's in control, and we have no idea what's happening. And some of us might dip in and out of that bottom one when things aren't going that well, when we're feeling anxious and overwhelmed and we feel like we're losing control of a situation, but there's nobody around that's gonna throw us a life raft or a life jacket or something. That can feel quite overwhelming. But one of the things I would like to say to you is that we always come out the other side. Our state of mind, like I said last night, fluctuates. It does go up and down, and so does everybody else's. So it's just understanding that we will come out the other side. My mental health might drop, my state of mind and my awareness might drop. But as human beings, we always go back to default. We're always striving to get back to default. And the less we interfere with it, the more we will get there quicker. So it's kind of like my wonderful snow globe that I use an awful lot. There's a couple of little glittery bits floating around in there, which is fine, because there's always something going on in our brain and rattling around. But when we're anxious or when we're overthinking, we're shaking this up. That's our state of mind. Is there's one thought on top of another on top of another. And the best thing that we can do when that is happening is to just stop, to just slow down and let things settle. And that is what we as human beings are always striving to do, is to just get back to balance, to get back to base. And if we stop shaking, if we stop overthinking everything, if we stop worrying about how long this anxiety is going to last, or worrying, am I going to get anxious if I go out with my friends and I get overwhelmed, if we just let things settle, we will go back to base camp. We will go back to a balanced life. We just need to, and this is going to sound really weird to a lot of you, we just need to learn to be okay in the discomfort that sometimes life can throw at us. So when we're feeling stressed or when we're feeling anxious, yes, we can look at our environment. If work life is causing you an awful lot of stress and you're not sleeping and maybe starting to self-medicate in some way, whether that's through alcohol or some other form of self-medication, we can look at changing jobs, we can change our environment, we can change our behaviour to a certain extent, but we're kind of concentrating on the issues. The more we look past that and just understand that we will go back to to basics. We will go back to a neutral place if we just stop interfering with whatever is going on. If we have a thought, and we will have thoughts, I think it was written somewhere that human beings have up to 60,000 thoughts a day, which blows your mind. If you think that, we have 60,000 thoughts in any given day, it's no wonder that we get overwhelmed sometimes or forgetful. That there's that much coming at us that sometimes we just switch off, we're not paying attention. But having 60,000 thoughts a day, we can't focus on each one of those thoughts. So we get to pick and choose which ones we give energy to. And I was saying in a message, somebody was messaging me earlier on, and I was talking about this in the message, that a thought is neutral. Every thought is the same. We have no control over what thoughts come and go. But what we do have control over is which ones we give energy to, which ones we bring to life. And I often use, the phrase that, chocolate. I quite like chocolate. But if I have a thought, chocolate, it's neutral, until I bring it to life. That thought is exactly the same as it comes in to, oh my God, I've got to go out, and last time I freaked out and I'm anxious. The actual thought in itself is neutral. It comes in exactly the same. It's just that we give more energy to the one that's around anxiety or fear or an uncomfortable feeling. Rosie, hi Rosie. It says, Sertle, my physical anxiety has been bad the last few weeks. I look back and think, right, I got through the last episode. Well done. But then when the next one happens, I forget about coping with the last one, if that makes sense. It makes absolutely perfect sense. That's what we do. When I'm not sure whether you caught the earlier ones, Rosie, but when we're in that emotional state, our thinking is it's buggered off, basically. So to rationalise with yourself, I coped with the last one and I survived it. When you're in the next one, it's really difficult to do. But keep doing what you're doing, because the more you think that way, that you got through the last episode, the more your subconscious hears it, and it kind of calms that triggering effect down. Mindfulness is really good for doing things like that, and being in the here and now and using our senses. I've not got one, but when I started off doing my training a long time ago and did person-centered, and somebody said about when you're in a panic, if you have an elastic band around your wrist and you let it go and it really hurts, that's to get you back in the here and now. It's to kind of shut down all the emotional feeling stuff that can be quite overwhelming and get you back in your head. I wouldn't recommend that you go flicking elastic bands all the time. But it's just about talking to yourself and reflecting after the fact. Sorry, I saw Mondays but missed last night. No, don't apologise, darling. You're doing exactly the right thing. The more we experience the okayness after an anxiety attack, the more comfortable we will be. And it is sometimes about just trusting your okayness and knowing that it will pass. And that is so difficult when you're in the midst of a panic attack. I understand that. I've been there. I can remember telling my then husband, that if I die now, it's because I'm having a heart attack. I was having horrendous symptoms, pains in my chest and down my arm and breathing. It's a real physical sensation when you're having it. It might be triggered by our thoughts, but once the adrenaline started and the cortisol and all those hormones, we feel it physically, and the physical sensation is very real. So yeah, you're doing a brilliant job with that, Rosie. Just keep it going and keep talking, keep reaching out. There are so many people that are experiencing this as well as you. But what triggers us and our thoughts around it are unique to each and every one of us. I've forgotten my train of thought now. I don't know what I'm talking. I like getting comments and I kind of forget everything else that I'm doing. It was something about being forgetful. Aniki, I used to have my little black notebook with me all the time where I had some smart points written down, so I would read them during the attack. It gets better with time. 100%. Again, it's about getting back in our thinking. Once the amygdala, we've got three brains, evidently. The first one is our primal brain, which is the amygdala one, which is all our reflexes, fight and flight and blinking, and it controls our heartbeat and the things that keep us alive. That was the first one that we had, and it's the little one right at the back that fires when we need it to fire, but unfortunately in the 21st century it's firing when we don't need it to. Then we've got another part of the brain that was, came into fruition about 2 million years after the first one, and then we've got the last one that's all the grey matter. And it's the grey matter that is all our reasoning and understanding and can put things into context and solutions and all those sorts of things. But that shuts down when our lizard brain or our primeval brain goes into its own, which is what happens with anxiety. And mindfulness increases the grey stuff at the front and it shrinks the amygdala. Because when it's being fired all the time, the amygdala, not only does it trip a lot quicker, but it stays functioning a lot as well. So there are things that we can do to help ourselves. The cortisol, I think it takes, don't quote me on this because I'm not medical, I think it takes something like 5 minutes to get out of a system. So once it's been triggered and the adrenaline and everything is going, it takes about 5 minutes before it's out of our system. So the first minute it halves, and then the second minute it halves again, and it halves again. So after 5 minutes, it's kind of flooded our body. We realise we don't need it anymore, and it starts to calm down. But what happens with anxiety a lot of the time is it's constantly being fired. So it never actually gets out of our system. It's constant. The thoughts are triggering it constantly. And one, it's exhausting. So, being anxious a lot of the time is absolutely knackering. But it never comes back down. So it doesn't take that much to fire it again. And sometimes we can go days and weeks just with that rumbling that's, we know we're just kind of keeping a lid on things, and at any moment it can go. So it's about, relaxation and meditation and mindfulness and all those things that can help us to just let all the hormones settle again. Yes, we'll do this and pop it in my handbag. My dad told me to put on my sun visor in my car, saying the worst place I worry about getting them. I can do this. I survived the last one. Yeah. It might help, there's a lot of things around, one around journaling. It's always good to keep a journal, because not so much that we can get it out of our head, which is one good thing, but it's about reflecting back on it when we're not in that anxious state, and we can read how we were then and understand that actually, look how bad it was, but I got through it, and it passed, and I'm okay now. So sometimes being able to reflect on the things that we write down can be quite good. But also, setting an intent for the day and being grateful for things. All these things calm that lizard brain down, and it just quietens it a little bit. But keep doing what you're doing, Rosie. The more awareness we have around our anxiety, the more we get to know how we cope with it and how we deal with it. And what works for one person won't work for somebody else. They say if you can trigger your senses again, it gets you back into your thinking brain. So, 5 things I can see, 4 things I can hear, 3 things I can touch, 2 things I can smell, 1 thing I can taste. Just literally anything that becomes habitual, that gets you back in your thoughts, can often quieten down the anxiety when it comes. I use a lot of simple things like this is the wonderful Kirsty, who works for Body Shop. I shouldn't really advertise, should I? But she gave me this, and it's British Rose, and it's got a beautiful smell. And it's a very calming smell for me. Believe it or not, the first time I smelt this was when I was in hospital having my son 32 years ago. My auntie bought it for me in a little kit. But I just love the smell of that, and it takes me back to a nice place. And that's something that you can have in your bag. And if you can feel that you're starting to, overthink things or worry a little bit, nobody thinks anything of somebody that's putting a bit of hand cream on, and then you can just smell it. So using our senses is a really good way to ground ourselves, and that's what a lot of this is about, is just grounding ourselves and getting back into the here and now stuff. And the anxiety will just fade. That's how it works. We can't be in that high state of alert for any length of time. It's our bodies can't cope. It's just too exhausting. So it will at some point burn itself out. It's just not nice to be in that uncomfortable state for any length of time. So again, I feel like I've just thrown a load of stuff at you then. So that's the I keep saying I don't do top 10 tips, but that is another tip, is to have something that smells. And learn to ground yourself. Just get used to getting yourself back in the here and now by using your senses. And the more we can do that and anchor that, it's an NLP technique, but if we anchor a nice feeling, it's easier for us to go back to it when we need to. Top athletes use it. It's called the circle of excellence or something, where they really get in the zone. They see themselves on that number one place at the end of the race, that they've won it and everything, and really, what they can see, what they can feel, what they can hear, how it would be for them. And it's a technique to take you to another place. But I can talk about that a bit tomorrow. So yes, I'm gonna stop there, I think, because I've actually got more work to do after this. So I shall be back tomorrow. It's the last night that I'm going to be doing a live on here. So if there's anything in particular that you wanted to ask or for me to talk about, then now is your time to do it, unless you're joining me on the Zoom on Friday, and I can do it in there. So what I was thinking maybe about doing a little bit more on was probably our state of mind. I'll write that down. And how it ebbs and flows, and how that can... Mine would be deep heat. That smell is amazing. Yeah, I love deep heat. Isn't it funny that certain things make you feel a certain way? Yeah, I like the sensation of deep heat as well, which is a bit weird. And Rosie's put amazing. Thank you. You're doing amazing. You literally, I think the comments in here are so good, and we don't realise how aware we are of certain things until we start to talk about it. Rosie, you've got some amazing insights that are going on for you, and to understand that you don't get it when you're in it, but once you come out of it, you know that it passes. That is exactly how it works. That is exactly how it is meant to work. So you are doing exactly what you should be doing. But I understand that at times it's like, yeah, but I don't want to go there in the first place. I don't want to have to experience this. You will get there, and you will become more comfortable in that uncomfortable place, knowing that it will pass. Could you touch a bit on journaling tomorrow? Yes, I could. Or if there's any links for the best ways to do so. I've tried to, but I feel like I'm writing a diary back when I was in year 3. Oh, bless your heart. Yes, I will do. I've written it down because my memory is not the best. There's also journaling prompts that you can use as well. So I'll see if I can dig some of them out, and I'll put it in a link for tomorrow. The best thing is talking to people that understand it. Yeah, it is. It's being in a we are meant to belong together, and it's about being in a tribe and understanding that other people go through this. I'm not having to explain it. I've got some amazing friends. I'm not sure whether any of you know Sari Taylor, who also, she's a coach. We're colleagues as well as best mates, and we know each other really well. She doesn't need to explain what's going on, and I don't need to explain what's going on. If we arrange to meet up or go out somewhere and something happens and we're having a bit of a wobble, or, excuse my French, but the crap's hit the fan, we just phone up and say, I can't make it. And it's like, yep, yeah, absolutely fine. I don't need to explain myself to her. She just understands So if we can have people around us that just get it, you don't need to go into detail and explain anything. It's just, yeah, it's absolutely fine. I'm here. I'll check in on you tomorrow and look after yourself. That's it. So yeah, find your tribe. Find the people that get you. That's really important. And I feel like I'm finding my tribe. I'm loving these comments and I really do appreciate it. So I shall be back here the same time at 7:30 tomorrow. I will do a bit about journaling. I will also do a little bit more about state of mind, and maybe we can look at, different things that work. Thank you to Gemma for recommending. Gemma, it's all your fault. We keep horses at the same stables, and in fact, last week I flew into a yard in tears, going, "Oh, bless your heart." It's absolutely fine. That is one thing that if I could bottle, I would do, is the smell of horses. I think I've mentioned this to Gemma before. Saddle soap and the smell of horses takes me back to being a kid. I used to have a pony, and my daughter had one. So yeah, if you can find how to bottle it and send me some of that, then that would be wonderful. And it's good to connect with nature and get out and just be amongst the four-legged people. I've got a friend that backs and breaks horses, and we've always said she's not very good with two-legged things, but give her one with a swishy tail. Lovely. Quite jealous now. Right, I'm going to go, and I shall be back tomorrow, and we can carry on this conversation. But feel free to message me and ask questions outside of this live. I'm happy to get in touch with you and send you some links if that will help. And I shall see you all. Oh, bless your hearts. I'm going now. My head's getting very big. Would you like the smells my horses were letting in? No, probably not. I'll let you keep the. Don't bottle those. I like the nice smells. Just the grease that gets on your hands when you're stroking them when you come home, and it kind of, yeah. Love it. Right, I'm definitely going. I shall speak to you all tomorrow, hopefully. Take care and have a good night.